G'day everyone, and welcome to the Feed My Mind podcast, and thank you for tuning into this frequency. My name's Anthony Ross, and I started this podcast because I'm passionate about two things in life. One of them is bringing out the best in others. I love to see people succeed and grow and become the best possible version of themselves. And if I can play even the smallest part in helping people on their journey, it gives me great joy and satisfaction. The other thing I'm passionate about is being curious and having an open mind for continual learning. I feel that when we attain new information, it provides perspective, which can change the way that we view our world and our place in it, which is where a lot of personal growth comes from. And that's why I'm here. Each episode, I'll be speaking with fascinating guests from all walks of life, hoping that there might be some insights or something that's going to resonate with you, which is going to help you on your journey to becoming the best version of yourself. If you like the podcast and want more information, head to our website, feedmymind.com.au, and follow us on social media. I'd like to give a special thank you to local Melbourne artist, Hawaii 94, for that beautiful introduction from the song titled Forever. All right, it's time to feed your mind. Welcome everyone. This is part 2 of the podcast with bodybuilding champion Rocco Oppedisano, where we talk about all things working out and nutrition. In part 1, which was released last week, we talked about his professional career and building a bodybuilding empire. In this episode you're about to listen to right now, we deep dive into what it takes to build a strong body and the nutritional elements surrounding it. We had over 2.5 hours of unedited recordings, so please bear with me on this one. I've tried to make it as free-flowing as possible. I really hope you enjoy this one and look forward to hearing from you. Good morning, everyone. We are live on the Feed My Mind podcast, and I'm very excited today to have Rocco Oppedisano as our guest. So, Rocco, welcome.
Hello, Ross.
Thank you. Now, I'm very excited for this podcast because of all of your achievements that you've accomplished over the years and the success that you've had, and obviously the lessons that you're able to share with everyone. So I'm just going to read out a quick overview of some of your achievements over the years, which I think is absolutely remarkable. So you've been in the bodybuilding industry for over 40 years. You won Mr. Australia in 1976. You still hold the record for winning the most for Mr. Australia in the shortest amount of time, with 21 months worth of training at only 21 years of age. Mr. Australasia in 1979. New York's Most Muscular Man in 1978. You won Australia's Most Muscular Man 3 times in 1976, 1979 and 1980. Mr. Southeastern Australia in 1981. You founded the first professional bodybuilding organisation in Australia, the Pacific Bodybuilding International, from 1979 to 1988, promoting over 90 bodybuilding contests with 2,000 muscle men and women. You've also started Australia's first muscle magazine, Muscle Australia, publishing 34 issues, which was eventually distributed in 18 different countries. You've published over 117 books, from weight training, muscle growth, physical and mental health, selling over 150,000 copies with some of them, with 8 bestsellers. You've owned 3 gyms over years, as well as a legendary Muscle Gym Australia. And you also formulated a health range of naturopathic supplements, which ended up being the second biggest supplement company in Australia. So I hope I've got a lot of things covered then, but that is quite a resume.
Well, thank you, Anthony. Yeah, you got it all right there.
Yeah.
Certainly, being at my age, I can't even remember doing all that.
Yeah. You know? So your first Mr. Australia title, you were able to get there in 21 months at the age of 21. What was that like? What was the trigger point at that time when you were, late teens? And then you thought, you know what, I'm going to have a crack at being Mr. Australia, and then dedicating 21 months of training and then doing it in record time, which that record still remains unbroken today.
Well, at the time, 21 months didn't mean anything to me. When you're 19 years old, I suppose a month's like 5 months. So to me, 21 months felt like forever. It was continuous training. Look, I didn't have any breaks. Exceptionally, like I'd train 6 weeks real hard. And as a rule, I always have 1 week off. And never train longer than 6 weeks. I never train on weekends or public holidays. So my workouts are just 4 hours, but they were long workouts.
4 hours?
Sorry. I mean 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And my workouts would be 2.25 hours. Each body part, I'd have a 5-minute rest. low reps, 6 reps, 3/4 movements. And my goal is every time I go into the gym, I had a personal ritual. I must lift a little bit more each day. Otherwise, I get angry with myself. Mm-hmm. And 9 out of 10 days, I would lift that little bit more. I made sure I didn't lift too much more because I wanted to win every day and not win one big day. It's pretty much I wanted the journey. I loved the journey of getting there, and I wanted to continue that journey. So I started training, and I figured, Mr. Australia, I don't want to look too bad, so I'll diet. I'll diet a lot longer. Yeah, so it was in my sights, the Mr. Australia, and I was 21 years old. And after dieting, I just went on a short diet because I don't like diet. But I found out through a lot of people that tuna fish and fruit. So I decided I'll diet 6 weeks before the contest, and I went on 6 cans of tuna fish and about a kilo of fruit, mainly apples, pears, and also I had a craving for ice cream. So I had just a little bit of ice cream every second day. And that was my diet. But I trained and I was still trying to get personal best, even though I was losing weight for the diet. And I was achieving that. And I trained harder, and I did train a little bit faster. I figured there's a contest. I trained a bit faster because I noticed that if I train faster, my body heats up and I sweat. And in my mind back then, I figured it's not sweat, it's fat. So I decided to train faster. Instead of having a minute's rest, I reduced it to about 50 seconds. Does make a big difference. And only for 6 weeks before the show. And I noticed myself getting in great shape. I'm like, I'm very happy with myself. So I think I'll please the people in Queensland.
I just want to capture the essence of the training that you did. So leading up to Mr. Australia, you said in the 6 weeks prior it was still heavy but shorter rests. Was it similar to your workout in the sense that you were doing 4 days a week, 2-hour workouts?
Yes. From 2 hours and 15 workout, because of the 50 seconds and less rest in between body parts, it got down to 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Additionally, I did include some pulley work at the end of the same program, just an additional those cables. And I only did that because people were posing, and I figured, I'll be posing holding some cables, so I did that as well, but only for the 6 weeks. Mm-hmm.
We will get into nutrition a little bit later on, and we can talk about that more in depth. But for you specifically, when you were working out with Mr. Australia, you said you were having 6 cans of tuna a day and a kilo of fruit. Was that your diet to get into that tip-top shape to win Mr. Australia primarily? Because obviously there's a lot of talk now about keto diets. So there's a lot of even like vegetarian, vegan bodybuilders. There's the low carb movement. There's all these different schools of thought on how to get into that shape. But obviously for you, you found something, the tuna and the kilo of fruit, and it seemed to obviously work for you. So what was your diet for that competition?
Well, the reason I got onto that diet is I love life, and I do not love dieting. And back then, some of the bodybuilders were dieting for like 3 months. And they were dieting for 3 months, and they were using, red meat, some carbs. It was very different back then because it was pretty much all natural training back then. And so everyone trained in a natural way of thinking. So I did a little bit of research on tuna fish, and I figured, right, I need something for 6 weeks because I know myself. I know I have enough discipline to last me 6 weeks because contest wasn't part of me. It was more about becoming strong, right? So you got to know yourself, and I knew myself that I could handle 6 weeks. So I found this diet where tuna fish has no fat, and it's all high protein. Mm-hmm. So I figured no fat, high protein, and I needed the fruit because my research at the time, protein won't get in your system unless you have some fruit, fructose. So there's no point. And even my experiences, the people that did only have tuna, I noticed their bodies were flat. So I learnt not for it just to be tuna. Yeah, so I did do a lot of research, more in the understanding of how tuna fish works and how fruit works. And that's why I went with it.
So what is it about the fructose that affects the protein in the tuna?
If you only consume protein on its own, that means your system slows down, your natural body's digestive system slows down, because your natural body system does need carbohydrates just for you to function normally. The last thing I wanted was for my body to change its behaviour. I don't think it's good for bodybuilding. So I had to prevent the body's behaviour in changing. And the only way I could do it is with fruit. Now, the beauty about fruit is it gets in your system quick and saps out. There's no amino acids in fruit, traces. So there's no reason for fruit to be stored in your body. So I learnt that. But I learnt that the sugar in fruit, which is fructose, prevents the behaviour of the protein working directly as the way it should be worked. And it worked. I was not flat. My body stripped the fat within 6 weeks, stripped. Back then, I never carried a lot of fat. My fat level in the off-season would be about 14%. I could still barely see my six-pack. And in 6 weeks, all the fat around my waist and around the entire body was gone. So it did work. Mm-hmm. The only problem is I had a strong craving for a sweet. So the fructose in the fruit wasn't enough, and I didn't want to risk taking more. So I decided to cheat and have a little bit of an ice cream, just one ice cream. And amazing that one little ice cream, with chocolate around it, right, satisfied my mind and made my mind good. It was like taking medicine.
Yeah.
So every 2 to 3 days, I just had one of those. And I noticed after I had that, my body would just be so happy and content. Happy in a workout, happy in a mind. It was like taking a happy pill.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I was real happy. You try and have an ice cream after that type of diet.
I can imagine.
My God, it's the greatest food on earth.
Yeah. It's for a lot of people that haven't either dieted or sort of gotten to that state, it's hard to explain the feeling, when you either your glycogen stores are pretty low or you're low on carbohydrates, and then when you just get that hit of whatever it is, it's bliss.
Yes. Yes, even to this day, I remember the joy of having that ice cream.
Yeah.
And I've had the best of everything in meals, and nothing beats the simple ice cream.
Yep.
Yeah.
The simplest things in life,
Yeah. It's probably like, I suppose, if you're in a desert and you're about to die,
Yeah.
Water will save you. I think I must have felt like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd rather have a glass of water than the best cognac on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for young bodybuilders or people wanting to get in shape at the moment, what advice would you give to, obviously yourself, you're a classic and natural bodybuilder. So what advice would you give to those that are wanting that more classical look and shape? What type of workouts would you recommend, exercises?
Well, Anthony, I recommend if you want a classic body, you have to train classic. Now, the problem with the natural bodybuilders of today, they're not taking, there's a lot of, I'd say out of 100% of naturals today, I'd say a good 60 to 70% are fanatically natural. I take my hat off to them. But sadly, they're not the ones being rewarded. I see the non-naturals, that have what you call supplement hormones. They have implants, big on implants and supplement hormone, steroids, and then they take drugs to kill a drug. When they have a blood test or a urine sample, it's common that they take, and they come across as natural. They get busted later. A lot of their great champions, Mr. Universes and many Mr. Australias, come up as positive, but none of them have been dethroned of their title. So the poor old 70% that really are deserving of these title, I really feel sorry for them, because they do everything right, and they're the ones paying. They're the ones making natural work. They're not getting rewarded. I know of some naturals, and this really breaks my heart, that do train classic. I see them in the gyms. They have unbelievable bodies, so good that they would have been big champions in my day. They were huge, small waists, never touched a drug in their life. They got big measurements, but they worked hard for it. They did their 2-hour workouts, trained their whole body twice a week. They did everything right. They competed in natural shows. I've seen many of them. They all got crucified. They all got accused of taking drugs, and they never touched a drug. They did tests. A lot of them said, test me now. They did the test. They come across clean, but the mentality of the judges won't allow them to win. And the reason is a lot of those judges are failed naturals themselves, and in their mind, they can't get a physique themselves. How could they get one if I can't get one? Well, they didn't do the work they did. So in their mind, they're assumed, oh, you're big, you got to take drugs. So what I say today, it is a sad day today for the real natural. Because to get something, because if anyone wants a physique like the past greats, the past classics, Reg Park, Arnold type bodies, Frank Zane, the list goes on and on. These are the bodies that made bodybuilding big globally. These are the top of bodybuilders that movie stars everyone wants. They walk down a beach, everyone wants to look like. They are ultimate beauty. They've got the symmetry, the dimensional, small waist, they've got it all. Shapely muscles. The only way to do it is you've got to train natural. The naturals today do not train natural. They follow the same programs as the freaks do. The same programs. The only difference is they're not taking their drugs, right? But they follow the same program. So they've got a diet forever. And the problem with that is, and what made it worse, the naturals judging system are using the same judging system as the freaks do. So if you've got symmetry, you're not judged. If you've got beautiful shape, you're not judged. You're judged pretty much like you've got the big freak, you've got the little freak. And if you look at a lot of the natural bodybuilders, minus the belly, because to get that belly you need multiple hormones stacking. You don't just get it on one hormone, right? So naturals could take one hormone or even maybe two, still get what we call a hormone look, but not the belly. I look at so many naturals today, and I see the way their shoulders are developed, the squared shoulders from the front, small chests, overdeveloped legs, grandmother's arms, spongy big biceps, spongy upper back, just a smaller version, right? But mind you, they all have a six-pack. Yep, I think all their training's towards that six-pack, right? And they all compete with no skin. If your skin level drops under 6%, it's considered freaky. It is not beautiful to have skin under 6%. You look like an old man. You look like an old man. The skin's grey. Sure, it looks vascular, thin, but the muscle underneath the skin is soft and it becomes saggy. Yeah, so you got a lot of these sickly naturals winning, and they're not beautiful, but yeah, they've got a six-pack, they've got no skin, overdeveloped legs, but they're not beautiful. So because of that, they don't get the big audiences. You go to a natural, for a naturals to get audiences of over 1,000 people, you need about 300 contestants. Some naturals boast audiences of 2,000 people. Yeah, they've got 500 contestants. Not like the PWBI. We had 40 contestants. 40 contestants to get 3,500 people. Now you need 300 or 400 to get close to a similar audience. So pretty much the sport has died. If each natural only pulls in 5 or 6, what's that say? It's over. So today I do see a lot of great physiques. Amazingly, I've seen great physiques. I see them in the gyms today, and these people train classic. They're huge. They're unbelievable. God, if I was back in running the sport, I'd seek all these great bodies throughout Australia. They're huge. They've got their 20-inch arms. They've got the dimensional muscle. They are beautiful to look at. I put them all on stage at once, promote it right, and I guarantee you'll get the greatest audience in the history of Australia with these bodies, but they won't. They will not compete. You know why they won't compete? They hear so many stories as the odd one that did and got crucified. How humiliating it is for a real classic bodybuilder to lift these great weights, do it all right, go up there, and someone with a six-pack and no skin takes your title. It's embarrassing.
It can be disheartening. I can tell you're passionate about it. You know, the enthusiasm in your voice. It's
It makes me angry. You know.
Well, especially, you know, for the people that are going natural and want to do it right, you know, without putting all of that toxic shit in their body. They want to do it right. They want to train hard. They want to eat the right things. They want to, you know, work hard over years, because obviously, you know, it takes time to build natural muscle as opposed to artificial stuff through, you know, hormones or steroids. So, but we mentioned about the naturals, how they've got much, you know, they've got a lot of symmetry. They've got, you know, they're not the skin, the way that their skin tone's different, their shape's different. And you talked about dimensional muscle as well. So what is the training style of, say, a natural? You know, what does it take to have that body? Is it, because I know your workout with 2 hours, you're mixing the body parts, like, you know, and this is a quick summary. What would it take for someone that wants to look like a natural?
Well, are you talking about the competing natural today or the classic natural?
Say the classic. So, like, say someone that had your body, or I think because a lot of people idolize, you know, say Arnold Schwarzenegger or even the Francos, Lou Ferrigno's, you know, even, especially Frank Zane for his aesthetics. You know, those guys are I guess the poster childs of the natural movement. And so I think there's a lot of young guys now that want to look like that. And, you know, obviously there's books, everywhere you read, there's different information, but it's like, how do you look like that?
It's funny, Anthony, when you mention books, you know, all my books are classic programs. I got this workout book, and it's got all the traditional classic programs, what I did, what pretty much the Arnold and Columbo did, right? And I sell so many of these books, even to this day. I charge $35, you know, full price for these books, but I do sign them, you know. And and so many naturals buy these books. They look at these programs, they get dizzy. They look at it, they go, Rocco, I can't do that. They get dizzy looking at it. And then I said, yes, once you are conditioned to train the way naturals train today, okay, there's no way in the world you could do this. I said, I sell so many books, and Tom over there holds the record. He lasted 5 months. He admits he's made the most gains ever in 5 months. Strong, he believes, but the pain is so great. You know, he just can't function. You know, I tried to explain to him how the mind works, but his pain tolerance is so low that even though he knows it's the answer, he can't function. But Tom holds the record. Everyone that buys my books, they last 1 or 2 weeks, and those programs go back in a vault.
Yep.
And I said, and I'll tell you what those programs are, Anthony. I'll tell you right now what they are. Okay, this is what it is. Do you know you only need 4 days a week? 4 days a week, you do, the whole body must be trained twice a week. Each muscle group must be hit twice a week. I'll give you an example. On a Monday, you do legs, 4 different exercises, 5 sets of 6 reps, low reps, and you do 4 different exercises. Then you got chest, same, 4 different exercises, 5 sets of 6 reps. If you're under 6 foot, if you're over 6 foot, all you do is increase 1 rep, 7 reps. Blood's got a longer journey.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a midget, okay, 5 reps.
Yeah.
Then you do triceps. Free exercises, 5 sets of 6 reps. Okay, that is the Monday program, and you do that Monday and Thursday. Then Tuesday is we do shoulders, we do back, and we do biceps, and you do your abs. It's a longer workout. Usually the Thursday workout's 2 hours and 20 minutes. Hence, the Monday workout is 2 hours and about 5 minutes.
Yep.
Right? Okay, Thursday, same thing. 4 exercises for the shoulders. 5 sets of 6 reps. Back, 5 sets of 6 reps. Biceps, 5 sets, but 4 different exercises. Biceps, 3 different exercises, 5 sets of 6 reps. Abs, you do 2 ab exercises to get a 6-pack. You only need 2, but you got to train it as if you're bench pressing to get a thick 6-pack, not the thin ones of today. To get that thick six-packs, the board has to be 45 degrees. You do sit-ups. When it becomes easy, you hold the weight behind your head. So you're actually doing sit-ups with a weight. The weight gives you thick abs. Now, the sit-ups give you abs to the top 4. Now the lower 4, because they cross in the middle, is leg raises. Now you've got to do leg raises. In the old days, they used to have iron shoes. Today, you clip your legs on a dumbbell.
Yep.
Believe me, it won't release and fall on your face. I've been doing it for all these years. It's never released and smashed me face, unless you're an idiot. And you do leg raises with a weight, and that builds the lower. And it worked for me. I won Mr. Australia's best abs. So out of all the abs, I'd always win.
And that was just from 45-degree crunches with a weight, building up to a weight, and then just for the lower sort of 4.
Yes.
It's just the leg raises.
That's right. 4 sets of 8 reps. Did just 2 more reps on that. That's all I did. In time, I ended up supersetting them in the later stages. But that's all you need for abs. You don't need to spend half an hour on abs. Now, bear in mind the classic way of training. We don't do warm-ups. We don't go in a gym and spend half hour on a treadmill or cycling. If anything, it'll be 5 minutes on a bike. That's it, just to warm up the body a little. Most don't even do that. That's all the cardiovascular you do. That's it. And most classics, like back in my day, you train 6 weeks on and you have a complete 7 days rest. And that 7 days is for physical and mental clearance. You're not even to see a gym in 7 days. The whole idea is to have an escape. So every time you go back to your journey, it's like, right, it's a 6-week program. And you home in at 6. You are mentally refreshed and you home in and you hit it hard. And then you're rewarded. Again, 6 weeks, you have that week off. Every year you must have a month off. It is a month. You have to have a month off to let the whole body come down a good 10%. It's good for the body to come down 10%. And they all did it. I still do it to this day. They all did it every month. Not to see a gym in a month. And it worked. All the greatest bodybuilders in history to this day are still remembered as the greatest on these programs. If you go back in programs before 1980, you'll see that they all did what I told you to do, just different variations. Different variations, but the philosophy is pretty much the same. Arnold Schwarzenegger, his programs are not original, just like my programs. They're not original. They stem from the past greats. Reg Park is partly original, more original than the others. But these programs stem from a whole history of bodybuilding that ended up great. So no one could claim that these programs are their own, not even me. No one could claim that. The only thing you can claim on my end is maybe the 6-week tuna, fish and fruit diet. I could claim that.
That's the Rocco special. That's it's pretty amazing. Like, I mean, I started off on your program as well. I think back in year 10 or year 11. I think your son James gave me a copy of the book, and I've still got it somewhere at home. Like I said, it is just working on those foundation programs that actually work. And like I said, it's not easy to be in the gym for a couple of hours and to be throwing around weights, and like you said, it's sore. And I think a couple of things you just mentioned then, which I think is so important, which not enough people fully understand, is just taking some time out and not working out. And like you said, every 6 weeks, have that week off. And even what you just said about having the full month off at least once a year, because the importance of sleep, the importance of recovery, of letting the body do its due diligence in recovering and becoming it better, because it's not until you actually rest, particularly with sleep, when a lot of the hormones start to release, through the evening. And that's why I think particularly sleep is so important, even while you're training, to make sure that those hormones are being replenished throughout the evening, that you have got the strength and testosterone to continually be performing. So I know when we first started the podcast, you spoke about the non-lockout method of working out, and I think that was a big principle of Vince Gironda. That was one of his sort of training philosophies. So just for people that are understanding, if you can explain a bit about the non-lock principle, sort of what that is and why it's so beneficial when working out.
Yes, the non-lock principle goes way back before Vince Gironda. It goes back to Reg Park, Steve Reeves. It goes way back in the early days. A lot of people don't realise how the non-lock principle became about is self-entertainment. You see, what the non-lock principle does, you see, because you're not locking, let me put it this way. If you lock out, every time you lock out, the blood squirts right back. There's no pump. I'm sure you heard the saying pump. And you know, there's gyms called pump, there's people called pump. Even way back, that word pump is so normal. But a lot of people don't know what it is. A lot of people think locking out is pump, right? The originality of pump is non-lock. You're actually pumping. You think about it, you get a bike and you're in a rush when you pump the bike, don't you? Do you get the bike and take and get the pump all the way back and then to squirt air into the bike? Believe me, you think about it, you don't go all the way back and then manoeuvre it all the way in. You know, when you get a bike, what do? You just pump it, don't you? You don't go all the way back, you just pump it because you want air in, and you know if you do it quickly, you get it in, right? That's how it is. Imagine a pump. Pumping your bike is like pumping your physique. You get a weight, and the whole idea is you extend it 3/4, not half. Half is when you've been there and done that and you're old like me, you can get away with murder, you can half rep it, right? But in the beginning, you do a 3/4 rep. The whole idea is you don't lock out. The other benefit, there's no wear and tear on your joints.
Interesting.
You know, no wear and tear. I'm an old man, right, and I lift heavy. I still squat, 3 big plates in the gym. I go all the way down and up, pump style and everything I do. All my joints are good. No wear and tear. As long as you train within a joint. So A, you save your joints. B, you fill up the area with blood. Think about it. The blood hasn't got a time to squirt back out. So every time you're pumping, you're pushing more blood in. So the blood fills up the area. And some people could feel it in their body. Some people pump and they actually can't feel it. But it doesn't really matter. It is still there, right? Now, what the pump do, what makes the muscle grow is you've got 5 sets. Where you're strong at, you pump and you fill the area up with blood, but the first set doesn't give you any development, right? But you're filling up the area with the blood. The second set doesn't give you development because you're not that strong yet. You keep loading the weight. The third set, you're filling up the area with blood, and your body's getting more blood in there. Either you feel it or you don't. It's there. No development. The fourth set, still no development. Everything is prepared for the development set. And the development set is you got to get your 6 reps. And you know the old saying in greatness, in the great classic body, go for 6 reps, but never get it.
Yeah.
Now, if you get to 6 reps, congratulate yourselves, you just got a personal best. No matter what, you have more development in your body because you just opened the development. And not only that, you've got muscle in the bank. For the rest of your life, you have what you call memory development. You can quit tomorrow for a year of training, but because you've done that, because you got that personal best that way, that memory stays within your body. So if you're back from holidays, doesn't matter how far down your physique goes, it'll all come back to that last point. Now, why we say go for 6 but never get it means that is your cue to go up. Now, you do not go up that night. If you get the personal best, you already got your personal best. Don't be an idiot like most do, is try and get another personal best. Greed is not good in bodybuilding, right? Because you overtrain. You get too many. You overtrain if you get 2 personal bests in the same exercise. If you do it in a different exercise, that's good news. If you get two personal bests in the same exercise, it is bad news. If you get a big personal best, like a leap, a monstrous personal best in the same exercise, it's still bad news. You overdid it. And it'll take you long to reset and to gain. If you want real muscle, you've got to be smart. And the way to be smart, they've got to be the smallest personal best you can get. Because the smaller personal best, your body, believe it, that little personal best, you split that many cells in half, right? And the way you eat, if you're smart, you increase your protein intake for the next 48 hours, increase it, just to ensure that every cell is developed. And you split enough cell to every cell to be developed. And the beautiful part about it is there is no excess. You don't want what you call cells not developed. And you run the risk of getting a big personal best. You run the risk, and even though you've got a big personal best, next time you go and train, you might find you might match it and lose some strength. After the great big hype, you lose it. It's because you've got overtrained cells in your body, and to reset, you could lose up to 2 months of development for doing it. So be smart, go for 6, never get it, and when you get it, the next workout you come in, increase your weight, very small. If they've got the littlest weight there, use it. Now think about it. Every time you come into the gym, you're always increasing and getting personal best. You'll end up like Arnold Schwarzenegger, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Think about how many times you go in a gym and you don't get personal best.
Yep.
And you get it in an entertainment form of way. Now, pumping, again, what made pumping great is if you get a pump the way I said you get it, you open a door inside your body to what we call a hidden chemistry. This chemistry gives you a feeling of like you one-touch lotta. It's like you finally met the woman of your dreams and you got her. This feeling is unmatchable. Nothing is equal to this feeling. And you don't get this feeling all the time. It's a bit like the rainbow. It rains, you see sometimes and you don't. But the fact that it exists, I think it's God rewarding you, saying, oh, you've done such a good job, you did this, bang, this is for you. But you can't have it all the time.
Yeah.
But the memory of getting that feeling, even once or twice or multiple times, is what motivates you to train like an animal and feel like you haven't trained at all. Your high pain tolerance goes so high because you're aiming for that feeling. And you can only get that feeling by blood, via the pump. Arnold spoke about it in Pumping Iron.
He did. I remember. That's exactly what I was thinking of when you said that. Yeah.
And there is something. Not many who admit to this. Usually we like to keep a lot of things to ourselves. But Anthony is a very good friend of mine. I'm going to reveal something.
Here we go. Yep.
Here today, I'm going to reveal something that hasn't been revealed, even in my own books. I haven't spelt it out this way. I'm going to give Anthony something never revealed. The pump opens the door to part. I'm going to say part of one secret, and you know what that part of one secret is? Self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis. Now, if you do it right, you don't realise that when you touch the bar and you pump, as soon as you pump, the first thing that comes into your mind, to get a pump, you got to do it fast, just like pumping that bike. You got to do it fast for the pump to be effective. Now, because your mind says to do it fast, your mind is connected to the pump. It's occupied with the pump. Now, with experience, you get better at it, don't you? You might be, your self-hypnosis might start with 2%. Then it might get up to 5%. Now, if you could achieve 10 or 20 more %, then comes the gift of God. You open a door to the chemistry that gives you that feeling, and believe it, once you experience that feeling, you'll do anything to get it back.
For sure. It is a great feeling. Like you said, it opens that doorway. And, I've definitely experienced it because I've been in and out of gyms for 12, 13 years now as well. So I can definitely empathise with that and understand the situation that you're coming from. And like you said, I like how you use that analogy, or you use the word self-hypnosis, because I think that's critical in because you do get in this state of mind, and it's almost like an altered state of consciousness, especially once you enter that specific, that pump, to call it. And I think that once you get into that flow state and that pump and that state of mind, that's when you're able to get personal best. That's when you're able to focus a lot more on the weights that you're doing, work harder, and all those sorts of things. And that's when you start to see results. And it's like it's a feedback loop. It's a great feedback loop. And it's, like you said, it's you're constantly improving and you're benchmarking yourself against yourself. And that's when you can grow and become the best version of yourself. And that's what I think's, fantastic about it.
And I'll tell you the other bonus, Anthony.
Yeah.
When you pump, and if you get to the level where your self-hypnosis is 10 or more %, do you know you never get an injury? You never get an injury. You could even do the exercise wrong. You could, even if the platform underneath your legs actually collapses, and you drop the weight, right? You might get a structural injury. But the muscle fibre is that tight. It's that tight and that locked against your bone, right? You will not get a rip unless if you do fall, you get cut, and any form of impact, you will survive an impact. It's like airbags in a car. You don't need airbags if you're 10% self-hypnosis.
So just quickly for the audience, I'm having trouble understanding. What do you mean by like the 5-10% in hypnosis? Like what is that?
10%. When you start being good at it, when you master the art of program your mind for, let's say, your six reps. As soon as you grab the bar, you in your mind it says 6 reps. Already that is opening the door to self-hypnosis. As soon as you touch the bar, you pump fast. The speed of the pump makes you go deep. That's what makes the number sets your mind. Sets your mind for what's to come. And then you grab the bar and you start repping. Your mind will set because already your mind has a finished point. The finished point is 6. And your mind is already programmed, as soon as you get to the bar, to quickly get to that 6. Now, the depth of the self-hypnosis is the heavier the weight and the speed of the 6. You won't get any depth with the lightweight because the lightweight is too light, right? But you'll find usually on your 4th set and your last set, that's when the depth gets deeper, and that's when, if you're good, you'll get that feeling. And you will not get an injury. I've never known to this day anyone to get an injury in that state of mind doing that reps. And we're talking bone-crushing weights. These are the strongest men. Arnold and Columbo, they'll be deadlifting like 700 pounds and bench pressing weights beyond belief, reach park. These are supermen. You don't hear of them getting injuries. You don't hear of it.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? And you spoke about self-hypnosis, but more importantly, how that links to the power of the mind. A lot of, there have been anecdotal cases of, mothers that have lifted cars off their babies and all that sort of stuff. And it's the fact that the mind controls, I think it acts as like a restrictor almost in most cases. It's like, I don't know, I'll just use an example, like our muscles might have a capacity of 100%, but our mind limits them to 50% to prevent injury.
Yes.
But then, like I said, if you can use hypnosis or use that state to go beyond or to get more to the limit of what we are capable of, which I think is far greater than what we believe we can get to, that's when we can achieve, miracles, or when we can achieve and put the body into a state to do things that we otherwise wouldn't be able to believe that it could do.
Anthony, it's sort of a mental immunity.
It is.
Immune system. You know how the body has an immune system in every way, in every form, does have an immune system. Even to God-fearing, I'm God-fearing, and even to God-fearing people, they have an immune system to, he'll protect me. It is still an immune system. It's a spiritual immune system.
For sure.
And it's unexplained, and just the same as just self-hypnosis. You think about it, the scientists, you couldn't talk to a scientist about it because he can't work it out, right? So the only other people that understand what I'm talking about, other champions because they experienced it. And you yourself, Anthony, you experienced it.
For sure.
So I believe you understand.
I totally understand where you're getting from. And I think you just mentioned about, science and the medical community. I think it's unfortunate that we live in a society at the moment where a lot of their methods for judging, health and looking at sort of markers, all that is based on physicality. Is the problem real? Can I touch it? Can I see it? Whereas there is this other element of the unknown, which I think is, where a lot of this extra stuff comes from. And it's, you mentioned about the hypnosis and how it links to as well the immune system and how, belief. The medical community doesn't give enough credit or doesn't pay enough attention to the fact that our mind can control everything in the body and essentially acts as the CPU system. And, we have far more control over our minds and our bodies than we're led to believe. People need to understand that they do have the power, and that there is something else out there other than this physical realm, and that we can tap into, whether it's through hypnosis or whether it's through religious practices, but there's something else out there that's greater that we can tap into that can help us. The one thing which is not really spoken about or studied that much in the medical community as well is the placebo effect. The fact that the placebo effect even works, I think, is remarkable, because the fact that our mind alone can create a difference over baseline is remarkable. And we should be utilizing that in technology, in our health, in our workouts, for much greater cause. So sort of what you were talking about, I think we need to understand this more, and people need to realize that they do have the power, the inner power within them to make these changes.
Oh, you're so right, Anthony. So right. We all do have a sixth sense. I know people that don't believe in God, don't believe in sixth sense, and scientists laugh at it, right? But I genuinely believe we do have a sixth sense. It's unexplained. I believe it's like faith. If people look for proof, they can't have faith, right? It's like love. True love stems from faith. Okay, if for anyone to experience true love, they really do need faith. And again, if you look for proof, you don't have either. Now, the way I see things, it's for free, isn't it? Hey, it's for free. Why not get something for free?
Yeah.
All I know is to believe in something not proving, it's a gift. It's for free. It stops your mind thinking and looking at horoscopes and looking at other things. It gives your feet more footing on the ground to just accept it. Yeah, we do have a sixth sense, and it's for free. And why not have extra power? It makes us better, doesn't it?
For sure.
Why not open a door to a free gift? Why amputate part of yourself? It's like, I can't see the logic in it,
For sure.
Yeah, we got our five senses. Hey, we got a sixth one there. I'm going to embrace it. It's done me a lot of good in my life. We all make mistakes in life, and like everyone else, I made a lot of mistakes. I've humiliated myself a lot in my life, and I tell you what, with a sixth sense, I survived. You can survive humiliation. You get over your mistakes, and whatever pains you got, you heal quicker. It won't prevent it all, but you'll survive it all. And in bodybuilding, to be great in bodybuilding, in my classic day, just about everyone did have a sixth sense back then, because there was no drugs. They had to rely totally on their performance. Sadly today, the scientists had provided the sixth sense, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
They found currency in it, haven't they? So now everyone's got to try and inject that sixth sense.
Yeah. It's
in
quite,
one way or another.
It's quite sad though, isn't it? That they have to rely on something else and not believing that you do have that power internally.
I think of the money they'll save.
Yeah.
and doctor's bills.
Yeah.
How many people have died? How many people you see on Facebook have died with these hormone drugs? They try and keep it hidden because it's bad business. It's bad business to open a door. But I've known of people that died on stage. Sure, you hear a little bit, then they cut them off in the magazines and everyone keeps it quiet because it's $1 billion industry, right? But we hear it all the time. I got a list of names I could throw out to you, but I won't because they've got families and etc. And respect to them, But surely you would have heard it, Anthony. How many die?
There's a lot that there is a lot, and there's been a couple recently in the bodybuilding community, which very high profile people on social media, which have passed away in the last couple of years because of their usage.
And they always die through a different cause. Because how do you pinpoint direct? I mean, how do young people, so many die of kidney failure? How many young people, so many die of no immunity and a bug pretty much kills them? Cancer's one of the biggest. And heart attack. Playing Russian roulette. What is it? Out of every 100 people that stack up with these hormones, they realise the heart's a muscle. Now, the heart does have an immune system that's different from the rest to prevent the muscle growing. But because so many body types, certain body types have a weakness in that immune system, and these hormones get to the heart, and all of a sudden you've got a big heart, and all the piping around this heart, bang, heart attack. How many do we know of young people died of heart attacks?
Too many.
And who do we blame? The promoters. The worst culprit in bodybuilding today is not the bodybuilders, not the freaks, because they do what everyone has to do to win. We do not blame them at all. The biggest are the promoters of today. Too many promoters of today will not change the judging system because fear of loss. A lot of them have no creative ability. They all go with the flow. They're like a franchise stores. You don't see anything new. They all split, so many organisational splits today, right? And they all claim to do better than the other. But when you think about it, a lot of them do worse, right? Some, I will be happy since I started my organisation, ABSO, right? I'm campaigning. I'm very angry at promoters that completely eliminated posing routines. Just think, no posing. No posing. Is the promoter saying you're no good? We only want you $500 or $600 to compete, and that pays, and your 5 or 6 people to come and see you. You have no talent. No one wants to see you. So what's the point of having posing? You know, I had one promoter, not mentioning his name. I rang him and complained. One of the biggest promoters in Australia. I rang him and complained. And I said, you should give their money back. I said, I've got an army of pissed off bodybuilders here that paid a lot of money to compete in your show, right? And they were shocked to realise that there's no posing. They just do their judging posing, their fundamentals, but there's no individual posing routine. There's nothing. And his response back to me, no one does it anymore, Rock. I stopped doing it 5 years ago. He goes, they don't want to pose. None of them have bodies. All they want to do is dance. They come out there. And when I did have it, they just come and dance. And I go, but isn't it your fault as a promoter? You're the promoter. They dance, you failed. You failed them. You know, they do what you tell them to do. You're the boss. I said, like, I'm the boss. So you're responsible for it all. I still reckon you should give all their money back. I said, or reintroduce the posing routine. I got more angry about the posing routine. Okay, I know you're greedy with the money. I heard that some promoters are pocketing free to some $500,000 in cash after paying out. All their expenses. That is net. So I'm asking, my organisation is ABSO 30/70, 30% of the gross earnings to go back out as cash prizes to your top 10 men and women. And the other 70% is yours. You still make a fortune. You still
giving back to the community that provides for everyone.
You can
helping
still buy
everyone out.
your Mercedes and fancy cars. You can even buy a Rolls Royce. You can still do all that, but you're giving something back.
That's so important, isn't it? And it seems like I think part of the legacy that you're going to leave behind and what you've created is giving so much back to the community and creating a whole industry that is for bodybuilders. They're getting the most out of it. You know, you created the Pacific Bodybuilding International, you made the magazines, but then also with all the competitions, you made sure that you rewarded the bodybuilders, you gave prizes, you created competitions, you created theatre, you filled up Dallas Books Hall with 3,500 people, which they still can't do today. So you had a formula for success and you were constantly giving back to the community. The fact that you were giving money back, from your magazine when you weren't making money so you could promote it and make sure that you were attracting the best. It just seems like that love and that passion for genuinely caring about the industry and the bodybuilders has somewhat died off, or it's not the same.
It has completely died off because there's too much greed. And not only greed, jealousness. I had one promoter another promoter who's running bodybuilding organisations. He competed in my shows and could never win. He was a good physique, just in that the others were better. And he even told me how I shake his hand, presented the trophies. And I said, and he told me he had the best time in his life. And he wrote, and I said, well, don't you think your guys want that? And he said, oh, no, I don't want anyone better than me. It's like there's a jealousy aspect. It's like they want to be the big fish, and that's quite damaging because they didn't get, to a lot of them, because they didn't make it, they feel like, why should they? And that is That is horrible, considering they're making all that money from them, you know. See, my philosophy back then is I wanted everyone to enjoy what I enjoyed. That to me is I feel the brotherhood feel. And I go, hey, you could be a leader and still run things and get all that. And what happens, I had a great feeling because everyone gave you respect. You know, I had me knockers, but, you know, I was known as a dictator. I ruled with an iron fist, but I had to prevent all these greedy people getting in because they were all around me, and I had to be tough because if I let me guard down, I know that what's happening today would have begin to happen back then.
Yep.
You know, so yes, I was accused of being a dictator. I was accused of all sorts of things. Don't cross the rock. Don't do this. But I looked after them. Everyone got rewarded. Most of those bodybuilders to this day are remembered. And they enjoyed the success of me magazine because me Muscle Australia magazine in the end was such a big hit. It actually made money by itself. It took a good 10 years and it was sold in 18 countries. So a lot of them enjoyed their recognition in UK, France, England.
For sure.
You know?
Pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So, I've just had a look at the clock. We've been going for 2 hours, so we'll start to wrap up. It's been a fantastic conversation. So, as we sort of wrap up, what are some key things that you've learned? Say, we'll focus on the training side of things. If you had to summarise in just 1 minute, you know, the best piece of advice that you've learned from a training perspective that you could share with someone.
Train your whole body twice a week, and lift heavy weights, and pump it. That's it.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. It is so simple. Remember, make sure you you do a symmetrical program. Make sure that you use free weights if possible. Try and avoid the machines because the machines lock in part of the muscle. And yes, that part will get big, but it will not be beautiful because it's like 20 or 30% of that muscle's been shaved off. See, the free weight, because you've got to balance the weight, and because it's a little bit difficult, and because you've got to balance it, your body's moving all over the place, and you know, the weight could tilt to one side, tilt to the other, you know, where the machine eliminates all that. It's all that freedom off the weight that gives you that extra percent of the body. The free weights gives you the hidden part of your body. It finishes your body off, makes you beautiful. Yeah, so I say go free weight and get a program that covers every muscle in your body. Remember, if part of your program does not cover, let's say, there's nothing for trapezes, you will not get trapezes. Your head will be sitting on a tabletop. And another one a lot of people avoid lats to the front. They think all these back exercises gives them a great big V from the back. Then when they do a double bicep pose to the front, all of a sudden they're straight. They go, where are my lats? From the back I got this great V, but from the front I got no V. And you know why? Because you built no front lats. And front lats, if you don't do front lats, you know, I'm talking about wide grip chins and pump it, don't lock out down the bottom, and wide grip pull downs, right? Now, the hidden benefit of developing front lats is if you don't do them, have you known around a gym, you got bodybuilders, huge bodybuilders, that their arms and shoulders, they walk like they're hanging a little bit to the front?
I call them they're carrying invisible suitcases.
Yes. Now, you know why they have that? See, front lats builds the centre of your body. It lifts your whole chest up, lifts it up and pushes it back. See, so that balances the front to the back. And it makes your chest look a lot bigger without developing your chest. It's like you've got a rib box. People don't realise the importance of front lats. That's why there are a lot of exercises, you know, like even when you do laying down tricep extensions, your head's got to hit the end of the bench and you go over your head, not skull crushers. You go to extend. Now, even that little bit of extension builds front lats. Even that part, even the end of that extension builds front lats. And you know, there's so many exercises, so do not avoid front lats. That is just as important as squats and deadlifts.
Yep. And then, so that's fantastic advice for training. Now, this is a whole other issue which we didn't really cover, but we'll definitely cover it next time if there's another one. Just nutrition. I mean, overall, now I think there's one in 4 kids are overweight. You've got 65% of the population, adult population's now classified as either overweight or obese. We've obviously got an issue here in the country. So what advice would you just give just to people in general, both men and women who are sort of starting out that just want to be fit and want to be healthy? From what you've seen over the years, what do you think the best diet or roughly would look like? If you just had to summarize, bit of this, bit of that.
I've got something controversial here, Anthony.
Yeah, more controversy.
You sure you could get in trouble for this?
Yeah.
I know the answer.
Yep.
Now, the answer is the most dangerous food in a market today is the chicken.
Chicken?
Is the chicken.
All right, here we go. Yep.
Now, put your seatbelt on there, Andrew.
I'm ready.
Okay. The chicken. See, in 1989, I think they introduced in a big way the 48-day chicken. You see, in 1989, a chicken used to be a 90-day. A natural chicken is 90 days. Now, you look at a natural chicken, your grandparents would tell you, was little compared to today. Most bodybuilders could eat a whole chicken. They were little. It was damn delicious. The chicken will break off. It'll break off in long pieces. Well, the death of the chicken came in 1948. And in 1948, thanks to the USA, the birth of breast cancer arrived in 1948. Straight after the 48-day chicken, there was an epidemic of women getting breast cancer. Most women getting breast cancer, and cancer in men has gone up through the roof.
In all incidents, not just men and women, I mean, just across the globe, it's the rates are ridiculous.
Yes, and obesity was born. Yes, I know you thought I was getting off the subject,
No,
Anthony.
I want to hear it. This is great.
This is obesity. Obesity in a different way. You see, just getting back to the dangers of chicken, then I'll get to the obesity.
Yep.
Is the 48-day chicken, what people don't realise is a chicken is designed to grow. They pump it with hormones, so many drugs and hormones, and antibiotics as well. Some do, some don't, but they started to, and even in a feed, in every way, the poor old chicken has just gone to hell, and a lot of them grow so quick they can't even stand up on their own legs. These chickens are easily twice the size of the chicken. So money got in. Sell chicken by weight, money got in. Now, thank you, scientists, for killing our chicken. But anyway, what you don't see is the chicken's lost its taste. Because I used to eat the beautiful chicken. I used to kill for a chicken. And I remember the 48-day chicken, the taste is gone. It's got a different taste. It still tastes like chicken, but half and a bit weird. There's a weird tang to it as well. Now, what they don't, and you cannot see with the naked eye, a lot of these 48-day chickens are filled with cancer. The flesh is actual cancer. And you know how you could tell, if you look at some of the chickens, some still break off, right? But they don't break off. They sort of break off with a bit of a glue to it. Some break off and there's a disturbance in a break off. That is cancer. The disturbance in a break is cancer, and you can't see it with the naked eye. But you can taste it. It still tastes like chicken, but if you're someone that's used to eating good chickens, your grandparents will be able to tell you, they could tell a difference from cancer flesh to non-cancer. So why the chicken is dangerous with hormones and not the cattle, not beef, like beef is still dangerous but not as dangerous, why the chicken is the most dangerous food, it's because the antibiotics in chicken and hormones in chicken, the virus in that chicken moves into your body. And the candidates, because not everyone gets, dies of cancer, not everyone gets breast cancer and they eat chicken, right? But certain body types get it more than others, right? Just like some bodybuilders could eat a lot of chicken and all of a sudden they're out of danger and others do. Some people are gifted with immune systems stronger than others.
Yep.
Right? And believe me, they're lucky. They're the lucky ones, right? The unlucky ones that have any little flaw in their immune system, chicken becomes very dangerous. Now, some people still get the immune system going, but then comes the obesity. Now, if you see the obesity today, if you look at fat children, your grandparents will probably tell you, in the old days, yeah, we had fat children. Not as many. If you look at all the movies on TV, everywhere you look, you don't see many fat. Being fat is like rare. He used to be bullied at school because he was that rare. You know, they don't get bullied today because they're all fat. But anyway, the fat children, if you look at them, they still had thin bones, unless they were born with large bones, which is extremely rare. A lot of them, their ankles are thin and their joints are thin, and then they just got fat by eating a lot of rubbishy foods.
Yep.
But not dangerous foods, just excess carbohydrates, excess fat. They're just fat. They don't get cancer, they don't die of other problems. Now, you look at the children of today, and you look at especially girls, more than men. For some reason, the chicken is more dangerous to women and men. Their ankles have expanded. Their flesh is huge. And you ask them what they eat, okay, they might eat just a little bit more than the other. Their bodies have virtually expanded, no different to the freak bodybuilders of today. They take hormones and what happens? They just expand, right? And these children are consuming hormones. It's the hormones in food that's doing it all. It alters their body and it just expands them, unexplained expands them. And to add salt to injury, the ones that expand more than others are conditioned not to eat a lot of protein. Some of the parents have recognised the problem. Some parents say, gee, I give it chicken, a lot of protein with hormones in it, and look, this is the result. So hence came what you call diets with no vegetables and no fruit. The vegetarian. A lot of vegetarians, there's types of vegetarians. A lot of vegetarians started to realise eating animal foods are dangerous. So they become vegetarians purely for that reason. They would have seen something in a family, something like that. So, yeah, and you could understand their reason. I suppose you're better off being a vegetarian than eating. The only problem with being a vegetarian, you can't build muscle. Not unless the muscle was built first. If it was built first, then you become a vegetarian. You're lucky you still got the muscle.
Well, I mean, Bill Pearl's a perfect example of that. You know, he was a famous bodybuilder who was vegetarian. But what a lot of people don't realise is 10 of his 11 titles he won when he was eating meat. And it was only the last one that he won when he was vegetarian. Yet everyone claims, oh, he was a vegetarian bodybuilder. So you have to have the understanding that, like you said, it's a lot harder and a lot to build muscle on a vegetarian diet.
Thanks, Anthony, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And you still see it today. Some Indian bodybuilder built his whole physique. Then he knows that once it's built, he can be a vegetarian, and they're promoting it. And everyone gets fooled by it. And then you got, a lot of vitamin and mineral companies. Now, a lot of these vitamin and mineral countries, I mean, I used to own one of the biggest health food companies in Australia, right? And yes, they are important. Vitamin and minerals are important. But there's so many scammers out there that push vitamin and minerals on people that don't need them. You know, look, a lot of people, I will admit, I was a little bit greedy back then, Anthony. You know, a lot of people were taking a lot of me vitamin pills, and the money was so good. And openly, I had, like 40 people working for me. And if I turned around and openly said, you shouldn't take it, I'll be out of business overnight. What do you do? You know,
it's a difficult situation.
I felt like going to going to church once a month and going to the confession box and saying, Father, I have sinned. I've been selling vitamin pills to people that don't need them. You know, a lot of them don't need it, you see. But I did say in a lot of my journals and a lot of my health books, I did say there that only take vitamin minerals if you have a known deficiency. You know, some people from the doctors, are prescribed vitamin minerals and they have deficiencies. Some people are born without vitamin, without this vitamin. Some people are born with bad skin and they do need vitamin C. Some people are born with B6 to make, needing B6. So yes, look, a lot of these vitamin mineral companies are authentic, and they started off authentic, a bit like classic bodybuilding.
Yeah.
They started off authentic. But today, a lot of them have thrown out the authenticity. Not too many today promote that. You know, they're all doing, I think they all have to join the same confession box I've had. They're all selling pills that people don't need.
So you think the majority of supplements, like obviously, like I said, we'll start to wrap up. But supplements in general, are there any that you think are better than others that some people might need? Some, whether it's magnesium, whether it's zinc, or whether it's protein powder, creatine, like. What? Just quick synopsis. Yes. Some that work, some that don't work. What's bullshit? What's not?
The thing is, yes, there are supplements definitely better than others. Some use good ingredients, some use bad ingredients. Some are honourable. I know a lot of health food company owners that are honourable. I tell you, even more honourable than me, better than me. I was a bit of a cheeky, a bit of a rat. But yes, there are people out there that are honourable. Now, but what you've got to understand is. Like for example, people that have arthritis. Okay, yes, a lot of them, if they take oils, cod liver oil, there is a percentage. Cod liver oil opens the door for magnesium and calcium to get through the liver. A lot of people don't realise that arthritis is a liver problem. Now, a lot of bodybuilders play with their liver. I say anyone that takes steroids need to protect the liver. Yes. So I say they need cod liver oil to protect the liver. Yes, they do need magnesium and calcium. They do need it if they're taking steroids. But if they're not taking steroids and they do take cod liver and they do take magnesium, they do take these supplements when they know they don't need them, guess what? These supplements are going to cause a problem. You're taking something you don't need and the body has to utilise it. So something good could be something bad. I reckon it's very important to know your body type, what its deficiencies are. And know your today, you can't trust anyone out there. You have to be your own doctor. So before you go and buy vitamin pills or any type of pills or cod liver pill, find out what your problem is and find out which vitamin pill you need and which cod liver pill you need. Do not believe the hype. Know yourself first.
For sure. That's critical, and that's one of the things I want. One of the messages I'm trying to get at with this podcast is to question the status quo and to think critically about a lot of things. We've just spoken about the medical industry, and don't believe everything your doctor says, because particularly on the nutrition side of things, most doctors, this is just a general assumption, but most doctors don't receive adequate training in nutrition with their training. I mean, they're fantastic for trauma-based things, but in terms of trying to prevent any long-term health issues, the current medical system's got no fucking idea. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why I think we need to be champions and take like I said, the health in your own hands, or do your own research. And I think now we've got the internet, so the availability of information is there. We have the power, we have the choice to research things, but we need to understand that just because someone's got a title, we don't always have to believe the message that they're saying, because it may not necessarily always be right, or they might not be the best qualified to understand the predicament that you are in.
That is so true, Anthony. So true. Something else is, if you've got time.
Yep.
There is something controversial today, and it's very political and very controversial, and it's got everyone believing. And the reason they're doing it is to open the doors to poisoning Australia. I'll get to that because it is very controversial. See, they passed a law to give the pretense that everything is the government's looking after the people. And the reason they passed this law is if everyone believes that the government's doing the right thing, they could push anything on you and you'll believe it.
Without question.
For example, we have the world's worst wheat. I understand our wheat is so bad a lot of countries won't buy it. Our beef, 80% of our beef pretty much goes to one country. I won't mention which one. Our beef has been rejected by so many countries because it's unclean. We opened the doors to the most experimental foods than ever. You look at our country, the GM foods, it's everywhere. It's banned in Russia. Putin, that everyone sees as a monster, what they're trying to portray him as the ultimate monster, is looking after his own people.
Yeah, well, he banned a lot of Monsanto-based crops and, like I said, organic organisms, not in Russia, and a lot of other countries in Europe now are sort of starting to turn their back on it.
Right, now there you go, banned in Russia, and yet anywhere you go, you think you have any type of takeaway, you are doomed. Your health's at risk because the oils they use is GM. And not only GM, and to add salt to injury, now they're using dirty oils. cottonseed oil. And you know that you go in there and they say, oh, what oils are you using? Vegetarians, poor old vegetarians, they go into these places and they buy vegetable food and they go in there and they say, are you using vegetables? They go, yes. Now, if you go further and you say, what oils are you using? Cottonseed. Cottonseed's not a food. Cottonseed is, you wear it. It's clothing. There's no nutrition in food. So what happens when you consume something that's not a food? It's like consuming dirt. Your body has to work hard to cleanse its body of cottonseed, so the nutrients in that food are already discounted. And that's just one of the oils. I could tell you about other oils, but we'll be here all night. Means we can't save it for another time.
We'll save it for another time, but
we'll save it but look at it. The bombshell is the smoking laws. You think these smoking laws, we got smoker fighting non-smoker. That's created this conflict. And the government's got everyone believing that if anyone smokes passive smoke, they actually believe they're going to die. You know, there's a car that just shot out lead fumes, and they think passive smoking's going to die. Straight away they're going to die, and they rebel, right? But I done research on smoking. I launched a book many years ago called Sugar, Sweet Suicide, and I done the research on smoke. And the dangerous smoke is the smoke that puts chemicals and tar in their sugar. The smoke with sugar is the danger because malt sugar, it's a tar, and the chemicals with that's the danger. But mind you, passively it does nothing. And mind you, you got to smoke at least 30 or 40 a day to cause any real damage, unless you've got a bad immune system. Okay, becomes more damage. But the smoke, the 100% tobacco smoke, the research I done in China, the Chinese that smoke 100% tobacco versus the Chinese that got money and buy the Western cigarettes, there is no sign of any illness. Nothing, no sign whatsoever on a smokers that smoke 100% tobacco. The illnesses start to become when they started buying Western cigarettes. The ones that buy Western cigarettes, you know, that smoke too much, start having these smoking problems. Now, if the government really cared about our people, why doesn't he tell these drug companies to ban the drugs in smoke? To ban the sugar in there, to ban all the drugs in smoking if they really cared. They can't do that. Why? Because they're drugging us in food, they're drugging us in meat. We are so drugged up. I guarantee you, Anthony, how do you and I go out and buy anything that doesn't have some drug on it?
That's why you have to do your own independent research and actually look behind. And like you mentioned before about, you know, don't always, the government, whilst, you know, they are good in some aspects, you can't always assume that they're going to have your best interest at heart, because, you know, a lot of the time they're, you know, we spoke about the drugs in bodybuilding. I mean, you follow the money, and it's no different in politics. You know, people are getting golden handshakes, they're getting money under the table, or there's other industries that they know where people are at the top. And I think, unfortunately, there is still a lot of corruption, even here in Australia. And you have to start to question, well, what's in our food? You know, what's in our water supply? I mean, even our water supply is a whole other thing with fluoride in the water. So the fact that the governments, you know, may not necessarily always have our best interests at heart. I think the key message is do your own research with a lot of these things. You know, have an open mind to a lot of research. We've spoken about the chickens. Look behind the science. Look who's funding the studies, and look at the main reasons why. And, you know, like you said, it's hard to walk into any supermarket now without being a freak and looking at every ingredient in the label to say, shit, what's in this? How's it going to affect me? And what's going to do to my health?
Anthony, have you been to Japan?
I haven't been to Japan. It's on the list though.
Japan. That'll give you the biggest weight call ever. You go to Japan and you look at the people out in the street of Japan, you don't see sick people. I see people 80, 90, 100 walking fast, walking quick. I don't see wheelchairs. I think I spent like 14 days in Japan. I think I was just talking to my brother, Sammy, and I think we saw 4 wheelchairs, and those wheelchairs are by accidents. You know, impact accidents, because we spoke to a few of them. You know, why they got their insurance. Some didn't speak Japan, but I was curious, and I spoke. A lot of Japanese speak English, and I got to know. Do you know in Japan, the pharmacies are very little, and they're rare. The only customers in Japan were not Japanese buying these pills. They were all Westerners. We're looking at where are the Japanese buying all these pills, and mind you, they don't have what you call big chemists in Japan. They're called a little chemist, and they sell everything else like. Not like Chemist Warehouse, they sell like sandals and other things. The actual drug part of the chemist is very small and it's filled with Westerners. I see very rarely the odd Japanese part of the queue, and they're rare. And I tell you what else is rare, hospitals. They don't have many hospitals and you don't see many doctors there. And then I learnt that their food is clean. You go to a butcher shop in Japan and you have a look at their meat. And I remember seeing that meat when I was a little child, that their meat has fat through it, fat everywhere through it. So their meat is clean. Another thing, where you buy your vegetables in Japan, you go to Japan, you only see what's in season. Small selection, small but different. Every month it's different. Small selection, and they're very busy, and they sell a lot. So you might only catch like, at best, maybe 14 or 15 different items of vegetables. Hence, you go to our fruit shop or easily a couple of hundred.
Well, I mean, from an evolutionary point of view, we're now eating foods that aren't always in season, which our bodies haven't been adapted to at that period of time. And like I said, it's interesting that they are eating much more in season, which is probably much more in line with how we have evolved over the years.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about Japan too is, there's a region in Japan where they've got the highest percentage of centenarians in Okinawa.
Yeah.
And they've got, the average amount of people per capita that are over 100 there is phenomenal. And what's really interesting to see is over the last 20 years, since they've started to introduce a lot more Western foods in their diet, that's actually significantly decreased. So that says a lot about what our diet does to them and their natural diet and what they have been consuming for thousands of years. Introduce our diet and, it starts to cause a lot more health issues.
And I'll tell you something amazing. In Japan, I do admit, Anthony, I do admit, I do enjoy smoking cigars.
Mm-hmm. I remember I had a cigar with you at your son's 21st many years ago, so I do remember.
So I enjoy having a smoke in Japan. Now in Japan, you can virtually smoke anywhere. You can smoke indoors. They do have their non-smoking sections, like how most European countries they used to be. You go to a restaurant, smoking there, non-smoking there. Still goes on in Japan. And everyone's happy. And yet, we got all these laws and they're blaming smoker. I swear, if you lose a leg, a cigarette did it. You know what I mean? Every sickness is blamed on smoking, and yet you go to Japan and you don't see sickness. I mean, I hang out Bay Street quite often here in Brighton. I hang out there and I see a lot of the elderly people. And I tell you what, I swear, without exaggerating, 50% of every elderly person I see does not walk normal. They're either slow limp, and a lot of them not much older than me. And a lot of them, I'm 63 years old, but I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I want you to think I'm 80, right? But a lot of them are not walking much, a lot of them are like in their 50s, and they need support to walk. A lot of them I see with strokes, and men, their face is not right. So many, a good 50%, easily. If you don't believe me, join me at Bay Street. See for yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like I said, it's not until you start to look at some of the foods that I guess we are being poisoned with slowly. It's a slow death, with sugar probably being the main one. And obviously we spoke about chickens. So I think people need to take their health in their own hands a lot more instead of relying on the advice of other people. It's like, well, the information's there. It's on the internet. Research it, look at both sides of the equation, and then make up your own mind and take your own health in your own hands, because it shouldn't be something that you should outsource to a doctor or someone else. It should be, this is my health, my body. I want full control over what goes in it.
But Anthony, you get a lot of these breast cancer charities, and a lot of them do good work. The money goes to nurses. They do a lot of good work. But why don't these breast cancers tell the truth? Why don't they come out and say chicken is the main culprit? Chicken causes more breast cancer throughout the world than anything. I found this out. I found out way back as a young man, because if I had to eat a lot of chicken as a bodybuilder, I valued everything I put in my mouth because I had to be in control of the food. So I learnt early, way back, about chicken. I had the pros and cons.
So yeah, just to finish up, I mean, it's been a very fantastic chat. I mean, there's been a lot of insights from a training perspective, from a nutrition perspective, what to eat, what not to eat. Concluding thoughts, if you could give advice to your younger self when you were 20, based on all the experience you've had now, what would it be and why?
Clean food and heavy weights and fear God.
Yeah. That's fantastic advice, and we've had a fantastic 2.5 hours chat. So I hope that the audience, you've got a lot out of it, and there's been a lot of insights and wisdom from yourself. A lot of funny stories about your time in Brooklyn as well. So, Rocco, I'm really appreciative of your time, sharing your wisdom and your knowledge here today, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Very happy to do it.
No worries. And if people want to find some of your books, where can they go to purchase some of your workout books?
All my books are available on eBay.
Yep.
Just type in my name, Rocco Oppedisano, and it'll come up.
Awesome. So I'll put the link to all of the books in the show notes, so you can have a look there and get yourself a copy of Rocco's bodybuilding books, and on a range of different topics as well. So
and if I may, the organisation, if you want to know about ABSO, just have a look at me Facebook. You'll see the link to ABSO, or there's an ABSO website. Just again on Google, you can Google ABSO, ABBSO, and the link will come up. We do have a website, and it's mainly about bringing back posing to bodybuilding and cash prizes.
Yeah. So I'll put the link in the description as well, and hopefully you can get more support around that, and we can bring back the love in the bodybuilding industry.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Awesome. No worries. Thanks for that, Rocco.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this fascinating episode. I hope you got as much out of it as I did, and there might be a few pearls of wisdom in there which are really going to resonate with you on a certain level, which you can then implement into your ways of being. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe on your app and share to as many friends as possible who you think might be able to benefit from it. I'm always looking for ways to improve this podcast and make it a better experience for you. I'd be extremely grateful if you write a review on your app and share your thoughts with me. More information can be found at feedmymind.com.au and also on our social media pages. You can follow us on Instagram at feedmymind_ or on Facebook at feedmymindau. Thank you, and stay curious.